Hey everybody, how's it going? So today I want to talk about this article that I read in Bloomberg regarding some new shutdowns that are hitting Europe as COVID cases are going up in many areas. I don't think that the United States did a particularly great job in how it dealt with the coronavirus pandemic. However, one thing that's very clear is that very few countries seem to really understand how to deal with this. Japan seemed to do an excellent job. But as you can see here, whether we're talking about Italy, France, which I couldn't spell, Germany, like a lot of areas have been seeing a spike over the past few weeks. It's not just the United States that's been seeing a spike over the past few weeks. So they're looking at another lockdown in lots of areas of Europe. And one of the things that I found particularly interesting in this article was where they're talking about some of the protests. So when you scroll down here, I understand why a lot of people are not flocking to cafes when they read the news. But I get that. But one of the parts that really struck me here that I wanted to go over with you is where it says governments are having to pick winners and losers as they patch up their economies in the fly, and subsidizing bankrupt industries can't go on indefinitely. Amid pandemic fatigue, discontent is building. Germany has seen anti-lockdown protests, and riots have taken place in a dozen Italian cities. In France, local politicians and businesses have defied orders to close small shops that sell items deemed non-essential during a pandemic, such as clothes, books, flowers, and toys. And here it says, in an attempt to calm protests, the French government said that it would ban supermarkets that remain open from selling those goods sold by the shuttered stores. That's led to further confusion, including a minister debating on a radio show whether toothpaste or makeup was more essential. You have this really interesting thing going on in this video I did, Amazon Redefines Essential, where let's say you have a sex shop, and the sex shop is considered non-essential, so they close. Amazon sells, let's say, car parts, food, things that are considered essential. But Amazon, out of that same warehouse, using those same employees, using that same logistics system, same delivery people, same pickup people, also sells gigantic dildos. Now, if the employee is showing up to work to ship the food, which is essential, it's not like they're going to get more COVID by shipping the dildo. If the dildo is over here and the food is over here, it's like if you're going to get COVID picking up the food, you're going to get COVID picking up the dildo. So it makes sense that they're just going to say, listen, we already sell this, so we're going to sell the non-essential thing as well because, it's just inefficient it's silly to not do that if the parts are all there right in front of you. Now, when it comes to a store, they have the issue where all these small shops are protesting and saying, we're not going to shut down. We don't want to shut down, even if you consider us non-essential. So rather than deal with that and say, okay, fine, you can open, but only if you have, let's say, 1 or 2 people in the store at any given time. Everybody must wear masks. We will watch and make sure that people entering wear masks. You must clean this area this amount of time, rather than kind of like work with them. And that way, what they do is they go, okay, here, we know that you want to reopen. You can't reopen under any circumstances, but they're allowed to sell the makeup too. Okay, fine. We're going to tell the store you can sell the toothpaste, but not the makeup. It's not like the toothpaste aisle is COVID-free, but the makeup aisle is filled with COVID. And again, I get what they're saying. They're saying we want to keep people from going outside and leaving their home to congregate in spaces as much as we can. And if the store is not selling as much stuff as it is before, that means the store is going to have less customers, less people in the store, less chance of spreading COVID. I understand what they're trying to get at. At the same time, I think that the level of tyranny that is going to be required for you to tell a store, you have all your employees there, but if a customer who's walking in to buy toothpaste wants to buy eyeliner, they cannot walk from the toothpaste aisle over to the eyeliner aisle, even though they're already in the fucking store, and the stock boy's already there, and the cashier's already there, and the manager's already there. That person cannot walk into this aisle to buy that. You need to close that off. That's going to require a level of tyranny that I think a lot of people are going to be uncomfortable with. I can just imagine if someone said, okay, Rossmann Repair Group is allowed to stay open to service MacBook laptops. That is essential. But selling nozzles to quick hot air stations or Attons, that's not really essential because you could probably use a blow dryer to do that. There's a lot of subjectivity that goes into this. There's a lot of arguing back and forth that goes into this. And this is something that I can't imagine any business owner actually enforcing this. Like saying that in aisle 13 we sell this In aisle 11, we sell this. You're allowed to come in and go in aisle 11, but you can't come in to go to aisle 13. Like I'm trying to think to myself of the mindset that a business would be in where they would actively enforce this, and it's very difficult for me to come up with a mindset where I imagine anybody that I know that is a business owner that where they just think this is the top priority right now. You know, like the economy's going to shit, the world is going to shit, my finances are going to shit. Let me make sure that if someone wants to give me money for shit that's in aisle 13, that they fucking can't give me money for what's in aisle 13. For every law, you need to have a policeman. So if you're going to have a law that says you as a store are allowed to sell, let's say, toothpaste, but you cannot sell eyeliner, even though eyeliner is in the next aisle and it's already a part of your store, you have to have someone who's then going to enforce that. Because normal people are just going to say, screw that, and probably not listen to it. Which means that you're then going to have to find the types of people that are willing to go into stores, watch people who are shopping and saying, are you buying an orange or are you buying candy? Because orange is important, but a candy is not essentially. You're going to need to have people there that do that. And the people who sign up for that type of job, or the people who are willing to enforce that level of tyranny versus the people who are just going to enforce the normal laws, like don't stab and shoot one another, that's going to be a particular type of individual. And I think what people are going to start finding is the particular type of individual that's willing to enforce that is going to be the type of human being that virtually no sane person wants in their life, their business, their family, or their affairs because they're horrible. That the type of person that is going to enforce that is going to be the type of person that is using the guise of legitimacy to hide the fact that they are a tyrant. And again, I understand the intention behind the regulation. When people go outside, they spread COVID. If we can discourage people from going outside, we will have less spread of COVID. Let's discourage people from going to the store to get. I get it. But at the same time, the level of tyranny that you're going to need to get that is going to be a level that is going to result in a lot of backlash. And it's really not hard for me to understand why there would be that backlash. If you want to see, I'm sure we've got a picture of our own Doc Volt from our Discord here, one of the moderators. He's probably right behind the sign there waving one of the flags. But this is something that I think is concerning, and I'm just kind of curious to see how this goes in Europe, because it may wind up being a preview of what we get here in America. Because as you can see here, again, Italy, France, which I wasn't able to spell, Germany, U.S., like many countries are seeing new waves. It's not something that's unique to us, and this is something that I think you're going to see politicians in the United States start clamoring for harder lockdowns or more measures to be taken. You have a lot of people clamoring, looking at the government saying, do something, do something, do something. And it's very rare that I see a bunch of people looking at the government all screaming, do something, that you actually get something good out of it. You have a lot of people looking at the government going, do something, and you wind up getting the Patriot Act. And in this case, you get the government saying, well, aisle 10 of the store can be open, but aisle 8 can't. And like, again, as someone who believes COVID is real, as someone who gets ripped to shreds by all the COVID deniers in his own comment section for doing things like cleaning a store, having air filtration, and wearing masks, I don't see how this kind of stuff does not end in larger and larger and larger and larger protests. I get a lot of comments from people saying, but Louis, does that mean that you want people to die? And I'm starting to become somewhat tired of them, because I think it's an aggravating. It's an aggravating straw man, and that starts to become really just a garbage argument in bad faith. It's like nobody wants that. It's just you look at what's going on. You look at the fact that many countries seem to clearly have a problem with keeping this under control. And like, these are the facts of the world. This is the world that we are now living in. We need to make choices. And many of the choices that we have are choices that suck. There's really no choice that we can make that's not going to suck. That does grow tiring. It would be as if I were to look at you and say, okay, so do you want mass social unrest? Do you want more domestic violence? Do you want more drug overdoses? Do you want more suicides? Do you want more debt that we're never going to get out of for the next 10 generations that will destroy our children's lives? Do you want all these businesses and the economy to be destroyed? Do you want people's sense of purpose in life to be destroyed? Like, I'm not doing that because that's obviously not true. There are people that have concerns, they have valid concerns, and I react to their valid concerns without just saying, you want people to die, you want people to be miserable, it's just, hearing that shrieking becomes, it's just an awful way to present, to even attempt to have a discussion. I think that it's not a way to have a discussion. Rather, it's just a way for people to posture their moral superiority on an issue, and it becomes incredibly aggravating as time goes on. Frankly, if we are talking an issue of life or death, if we are really at that point of do you want people to die, I'm not talking about Rossman Repair Group, the business. This is not the business's opinion. If we're talking Louis Rossmann as a person, what do I believe? What is my subjective belief? MacBook liquid damage repair. Not that essential. Now, I have lots of customers that disagree with that. I have people calling in every single day, dozens and dozens of emails and phone calls every single hour, people showing up saying, I will pay you $100 or $200 over your advertised rate. I need this to work today. My PhD thesis is on there. My presentation for work is on there. My life is on there, and I need it in order to go back to living my life and doing my work. Make this work today. They think it's very essential. I don't think it is. Because in 2019, you bought a MacBook. And as far as 2004, IBM, for less money than Apple, was creating portable laptop computers that you could use for your mission-critical business or essential work that were actually liquid resistant, so that if you had your glass of water right next to your computer, as hundreds of millions of people across the world do, and you tipped it over, rather than destroy the board, it would go around this nice little black tape and then come out these drainage holes in the bottom of the computer rather than destroy, corrode, and burn everything. IBM solved this engineering problem over 16 fucking years ago, so that if you had essential work, if you had mission-critical business that needed to be done, and you spilled some lemonade on it, or you had the laptop by a window when it was humid outside, that you wouldn't have to bring your device to a jackass in a gray Under Armour shirt to fix it for you. But you didn't do that. So clearly, whatever work that you're doing is not that essential, is not that important, is not that mission critical, because you're doing it on a fucking MacBook in 2020. I probably sound like a prick. Probably sound like an arrogant jerk. Who am I to say that what you're doing is not essential or mission critical simply because you have a difference in opinion? Probably right. I am being a jerk, which is why it's a really great thing that we used to live in a world where my subjective opinion as to what is essential or mission critical or incredibly important is not what drives whether or not you have the freedom to do it. Because if it did, well, we might just live in a tyranny. It's a great thing that my subjective opinion as to what is important does not run your life. I don't see where there's a very, very clear-cut, here's the easy solution that just makes everybody happy, that's just sitting there on the table that anybody can just pick up and go, this is obviously what we should do. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. That's it for today, and as always, I hope you learned something. I'll see you all in the next video.